It's Roc Manuch with Jimmy B, now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc Manuch with Jimmy B.
Sports villains in sports. How do you identify a villain in sports? I mean, I think there's a lot of ways you can do that. One is truly being unlikable to the masses, and you're having enough success and relevancy to keep you in the headlines. You can also just put sports villain. Look it up in the dictionary, and you'll see Dan Hurley.
Yeah. For now, the new one, new sports villain.
Yeah. So I think he is the guy that has taken this over. You know, from what he did after the loss, when UConn's loss, went after this reporter, and you know, you heard him when he left the court and the things that he said or what you're allowed to say. And I know their SID, or their director of communications, was trying to get the video removed, and they wouldn't remove it, and all this stuff that went out. And you know, and you hear him, you know, on just basically, some people call him, you know, a crybaby,
hothead.
Yeah, and I think he's pretty easy to root against. But in his defense, you know, he defends his behavior. Sure. He doesn't necessarily have to apologize, and he doesn't apologize. This is who he is, and he wears his
heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, and some people love that. Some people love that. But it kind of got us into this thought process that, you know, when you look at current other sports villains in sports, you know, with the Chiefs dynasty, so-called dynasty until Philly beat them, you know, the Chiefs may have been on that, you know, on that list, at least to a point, because there are a lot of people that didn't like Taylor Swift being along for the ride. Okay, so people got upset about that. You can go back to the Patriots, but that's too long ago. I personally think the biggest villain right now is Aaron Rodgers.
Good choice. Wow, very good.
You know, because, you know, what he does off the field, he's an outstanding quarterback. We know he's got that. You know, I think every sport has that villain. I think LeBron James was for a while.
Sure he was. Yeah.
I think you could put him down there. Draymond Green.
Sure.
He was one that was on top of it for a while.
He was.
And he kind of sometimes gets into it because of his podcast. Baseball, I don't know if there really is anybody in baseball. There's nobody that I really think of in baseball
nowadays.
That's
I don't
playing.
Yeah.
You know, there's no A-Rod. There's nobody out there, right? But I would say for college basketball or college football, we got, you know, we're gonna throw Dan Hurley in the basketball.
Sure.
College basketball. Kirby Smart. I mean, he's got 24 players in the last 2 years have been arrested.
Yeah, that's one side of it.
And he's the highest paid coach in college football, making $13 million a year.
But you classify him as a villain because of his players.
You keep seeing players getting arrested.
Yeah,
or you got to take the blame for that, don't you?
Well, yeah, you do. Oh, totally. You're the guy in charge. But I look at that and go, okay, it always seems that that's rectified one with the other. But if he's what you're insinuating is, hey, he's getting all these guys to get in trouble, he's paying them off, and then winning championships, then I could see that spin as far as that's concerned.
You know, I think Angel Reese was a villain a year ago.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, she has plenty of fans, but she had a lot of success and a lot of haters.
Well, a lot of harassing.
Yeah.
And a lot of harassing I felt was that.
You think there's any
there you go.
Any villains in golf?
Well, there was Bryson DeChambeau. I think any of the players that went over to the Live,
that first major, that Masters.
Yes.
Everyone was rooting
what's
against.
His name with the really beautiful wife?
Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka. Everybody knows. That's all you got to say. Yeah, I mean,
with the beautiful wife.
Is it?
well, I know it's true though.
Don't
I mean,
you think Phil's the new villain in golf? Has he made the
Phil is
switch?
non-relevant? When was the last time you heard about Phil Mickelson?
Well, last week it was in a live tournament. Yeah, I saw that. But I
how do
mean,
you do?
The last time you heard about Phil, I think, was that first Masters when Liv
Yeah,
was a
Yeah.
thing. Because remember, he finished, I think, top 10 or top 20, and Tiger wasn't even to make the cut. And that was a whole story.
but I mean, overall, golf, nobody likes him now. I mean, he's like a villain.
Well, I think if we had this conversation 2 years ago, yes. Okay, when the Liv was kind of
so you think he's more non-relevant now?
I don't even. I'm huge into golf. I'm going to the PGA. I'm going to the British Open. I go to I love golf more than any other sport. I don't hear anything about Phil Mickelson.
I think he's just strictly live right now. Now, would he get invited to the Masters for next week?
Because he won.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So let's go back in time though. If we were going to look at some
several
old
there.
I mentioned Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, Arrowhead, absolutely.
With all the allegations using performance-enhancing drugs, and I think you throw him in there. The guy that I really think is high up there in basketball, Bill Laimbeer.
Oh, by far.
How about that?
When you say villain,
the cheap shots.
Oh,
the way he played.
Absolutely.
He was clearly a villain.
Oh, and he did stuff on purpose. Just matter of fact, when you think back those Boston Celtics series in the Big East final, to get kicked out on purpose, and they had him mic'd up. He goes, "Did he get kicked out?" Larry Bird. Bird got ejected. He goes, "I did my job." So a lot of it was intentional. That's a great one, Bill Laimbeer.
Let me see. I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm just kind of throwing some of these.
Can I throw one out there?
Yeah, please.
How about Danny Ainge?
Yeah, unless he was on your team.
Yes.
Being a Sixers fan myself, and when he was a Celtic, I couldn't stand him. But then when he was a Phoenix Suns, because of
You loved him.
Loved him.
You loved him.
There's a lot of those guys that you can't stand, like the Bobby Hurley, not Bobby Hurley. Oh gosh, what's the guy's name for San Antonio? He was a Suns killer.
Oh, big shot, Bob. I know you're talking about. Or is it Ori? No,
Yeah. Ori.
Robert Ori.
Yeah,
Robert Ori. Yeah, he was a knucklehead. The hip check of Steve Nash into the dashboard.
Yeah,
that whole thing.
Try to see some other ones. I think you could put a bunch of commissioners in there.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
you could put Bud Selig in there. I think you put David Stern in there. Some may think Roger Goodell and Gary Bettman are on that list. Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a screamer, right? And he says it the way he feels, and
3 minutes.
I used to be the biggest Stephen A. Smith fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stephen A. has gotten too big, and
he's gotten out there. I think
if maybe in 6 months, I think you put Stephen A. there.
Yeah. Let me ask. Would you have considered going back in boxing, Muhammad Ali as a villain?
No.
I mean,
I would put Don King.
Well, Don King.
Definitely. I mean, he's singly responsible for the downfall of boxing. I mean, he was a promoter of fights. We all know that. That's all he ever did, but it was all about him, and him and Mike Tyson and everything that he did. And I believe he swindled Tyson out of millions of dollars over the years, somewhere like $14-15 million. And he worked with Muhammad Ali. He worked with Larry Holmes, Terry Norris, Tim Witherspoon. I mean, he worked with a lot of them. I mean, the guy was convicted in 1966 second-degree murder for shooting someone.
Would you consider Floyd Mayweather nowadays
2 minutes
as a villain, so to speak?
I would even put him in, not necessarily, what he said about Manny Pacquiao. Remember there was some article that went out, and he really ripped Manny Pacquiao on some things. Remember when that stupid fight between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr.? I think that was terrible. But you can't deny his talent. He was amazing. But he was convicted. He was convicted on 2 counts of domestic violence, misdemeanor battery of 2 women in a nightclub, assaulting his girlfriend. He's been he fled a scene in Vegas for a shooting. Yeah. I mean, again, then he was arrested in charge with 3 other misdemeanors, and then his rap sheet.
Yes, that's a rap sheet. Yeah,
and I only got some of it.
That is an ultimate rap sheet.
Let me throw this one at you. Bobby Petrino, Falcons head coach.
Yeah,
resigned. 13 games.
Interesting.
Because he gets blown out on Monday night.
Yeah.
He quits.
About a minute left. About a
Okay.
minute.
And then the whole thing that happened at Arkansas,
Mhm.
that was a big problem.
Sure.
I mean, I think you could make a case you could put him. I think now time has healed that, but he makes the list.
I would think so. Yeah, having the girlfriend on the back of the bike on the wipeout there, and then having to go explain that to your wife, not real good.
There was an era there when the Miami Heat was clearly when it was LeBron and crew.
Sure.
People
Yeah.
hated him.
Yeah.
The biggest team villain it's unquestionable. The New England Patriots. And I know you and New England Patriots hate it, but come on. Spygate, Deflategate. I mean, I could go on, and Tom Brady and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and football, basketball wise, you alluded to Bill Laimbeer. It was the Pistons when they were the villains of the NBA for so many years, just because of their antics. You talk about Laimbeer, and nobody really liked Isaiah, and I mean, they had a phenomenal team. Don't get me wrong, but villainous wise, it was them. And to that your point, football, yeah, the Patriots because they're winning all the time. But those little Spygates and Deflategates and
All clear to
all
rep.
these things here and there added to that.
Hey, I want to tell you here on Fridays at Twin Peaks, if you celebrate Lent, or not celebrate, but observe Lent, it's probably more appropriate. You could grab a beer, some batter fish and chips. They have them at all 5 locations. They got a pretty cool deal right now. You can score the fish and chips bundle with a 22-ounce Miller Lite or Coors Light for just $14. They're doing that through Easter. If you're not a drinker, you can grab an iced tea or soda, and it's just $12. So if you want to take advantage of the fish and chip bundles at Twin Peaks, there's 5 Valley locations. Scott Spreitzer going to join us in about 10 minutes. We got our locks. We're going to have Mike Adris, the former NAU head basketball coach, sit in with us here at Wright Toyota in the 3 o'clock hour. You'll want to stick around for that. We'll continue on. It's Roc Manuch, Jimmy B, right here on ESPN 620.